Okay, so on Monday, a CSGO team named Chaos Esports Club defeated MIBR in a hard-fought best-of-3 series as part of CS Summit's online qualifier. But almost immediately, accusations of cheating were leveled against Chaos by mostly Brazilian fans, particularly aimed at Leaf, their youngest player. Now, Leaf started receiving waves of abuse and even death threats on social media. He is 16 years old, and this has prompted a crucial question that we, as part of the CSGO community, need to try to answer. How do we address the question of whether or not someone's cheating without enabling abuse, harassment, and death threats by angry, unhinged fans? Okay guys, so as you may or may not know, we are streaming on Twitch pretty regularly these days. So go ahead and head over to twitch.tv/theScore Esports, give us a follow and turn notifications on, and obviously, if you haven't already, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Now, the first thing I want to say about this Leaf situation is that I am not here today to address the validity of the cheating accusations that have been leveled against them. We are here today to talk about the ugly aftermath. In fact, we're not even going to show you the clips that function as the alleged proof that this young man cheated. If you want to see them, they're out there and easy enough to find on your own. Because right now, the issue is not whether he did or did not cheat or has ever cheated. Right at this very moment, the issue is how we as a community address these situations going forward, and how we got to the point where a 16-year-old kid is being sent death threats for beating a Brazilian team in a qualifier. But let's back up for a quick second to where this all started. After the match on Monday, Leaf tweets out 2-1 against MIBR, GG's to them, we all had insane maps, plus a little joke about Steel. The replies to that tweet come in hot and heavy, a lot of them being angry accusations of cheating from mostly Brazilian fans. For those of you who aren't quite as steeped in your CSGO history, Brazilian fans and crowds have a reputation for being pretty wild, and at times pretty controversial. LAN events in Brazil feature absolutely rabid fans screaming for their team and booing the enemy, and sometimes doing a little more than that. Sometimes calling out crucial information or making map callouts that would give their favorite team an unfair advantage. And to be fair, they are definitely not the only nationality that has been known to do this on home turf. There is a passion to Brazilian fans that is often celebrated in the CSGO community, as it should be, but sometimes that passion can cross lines in a big way.
They found my mom and my sister's Facebook, and they were literally spamming them like that same week before I was going to go of, if you come to Brazil, we're going to kill you. We hate you. Brazil hates you. And that's exactly what happened to Leaf of Chaos Esports Club. The angry, aggressive, toxic tweets started spilling over into outright death threats. Death threats that thankfully have since been deleted by Twitter, as they should be. But if you go to that original Leaf tweet, you can see the hundreds of toxic, accusatory, harassing messages. And that's only what we see publicly. I think it's pretty obvious how all of us should feel when it comes to a 16-year-old getting death threats for beating a Brazilian team in an online qualifier, no matter what the circumstances. But I talked to Sadakist about this entire issue recently, and I think he put it best.
But I was more surprised to see the reaction of the community being so hostile. And maybe I shouldn't be. The problem being is that we had players in this case that have said not to call people out before because it does this, doing the exact same thing. Obviously, in the case of Fallen, that's pretty true. And I think that they're a little bit... it's hard to say that they still are in 2020, but I think a little bit ignorant of what their following is capable of and what implications that has.
This is, unfortunately, nowhere near the first time a CSGO professional has received death threats from the fan community. But I think what was really disappointing is seeing other pros and influencers add fuel to this fire by weighing in on whether or not Leaf was cheating in this match. The same day the match took place, Tarek, who was himself part of the MIBR squad back at the end of 2018, tweeted several clips from that match and heavily implied that he felt that Leaf was cheating. Fallen himself chimed in with a pretty damning tweet as well. And they weren't the only ones either. Gowan, a 1.6 pro and a streamer with a massive Brazilian Counter-Strike audience, piled on his own speculations as well. I mean, some of the clips where he's evaluating whether or not the players from Chaos Esports Club cheated have tens of thousands of views, and by the time you see this footage, probably more. Now, are any of these guys telling anyone to go out and threaten members of Chaos Esports Club? No, of course they're not. But by weighing in, by implying or outright stating that Leaf or anyone else was cheating, they create a climate where it's okay to let accusations fly.
Guys like Fallen and guys like Tarek, who are pros and have a massive following, need to be aware of their influence. And it's hard to imagine that in 2020 that they aren't. And Fallen, being on a team like MIBR, should know that. And if you don't in 2020, then you need to have PR addressed within the team. And the organizations maybe need to look at it, because it's hard to imagine someone that's been around that long saying, oh, well, you know, I can make that tweet and it's not a big deal. No, he has to know that people are going to react and they're going to take his side due to his stance in the scene. And he has to know what he's implicating.
Now, it's worth stating that all three guys I mentioned walked back their original statements on social media and asked people not to go out and harass anyone because of them. But honestly, at this point, it's too little too late. The damage has been done. Pro players and influencers have to understand that what they say and do has a huge influence on what fans say and do. Even if they aren't explicitly telling anyone to actually do anything, by throwing out accusations like this, they can make certain people feel okay about taking it too far. This is something the CEO of Chaos Esports Club, Greg Laird, talked about in a recent tweet, where he said, Fallen, Tarek, Immortals, MIBR, all of your behavior is unacceptable, immature, and does nothing except gathering the pitchforks of a community. Report it to an admin if you think one of our players is cheating. Unbelievable. Players on other titles are receiving threatening DMs because of your actions. You have a huge platform. Use it responsibly. Now, I did speak to Laird, the CEO of Chaos Esports, for this story, and although his team wasn't quite ready to sit down for an interview just yet, he did give me a statement on the matter, which I'll share with you now. The backlash and attitude of the community against Nathan has been incredibly disappointing, but happily, quite a few members of the community have reached out to offer the team and Nathan support. All I'd like to add is that pro players and community members have large platforms. No matter what is said after the fact, it is very easy for these accusations or speculations to spin out of control into very personally damaging situations for the players and staff. Our staff, myself, and even my girlfriend have all received private messages about this that were less than polite. The team is hard to upset and has handled the situation very well, all things considered. And we've just got so many examples from CSGO's past to draw on of players who have been accused of cheating and who have suffered personally as a result. I mean, you guys could probably name a bunch off the top of your head. Flusha comes to mind, Rops, who, let's face it, was harassed and bullied until he literally went to FACEIT headquarters and played FPL from there to prove he wasn't cheating.
The people who I looked up to started calling me a cheater, then it wasn't good. I didn't really want to play at that point, because it's not good when you look up to a person and then suddenly he starts calling you a cheater, man.
Just put yourself in any of these people's shoes. You're a young man, you're trying to do what you love, and all of a sudden you can't turn left, right, or sideways without seeing a horrible, aggressive, harassing, insensitive message from a member of the community because they think you're cheating. Look, I don't know if Leaf is cheating, and neither do you, and neither do Tarek, Fallen, or Gowless. What we do know is that there are people out there who will cross lines, who will threaten, abuse, and harass pro players when their heroes seem to give them implicit permission to do so.
Okay, sure, you may have lost that game and maybe you're looking for a way to deflect some of the hatred coming toward you. So you put out this accusation. You gotta realize we have proper channels for that stuff. We have admins and they should be the ones to at least make the decision. If someone's gonna put out an accusation, they should be the ones to do it. And the pro players should know to go through those channels. And keep in mind that a 16-year-old kid, I mean, Fallen should know this more than anyone, is trying to make a living and trying to pursue his dream within Counter-Strike. And now he's on the back foot for the rest of his potential career. He's got people that, even if he apologizes, even if he's cleared of this, there will be people that just because they will troll. I mean, we have people online that have large followings that literally that's all they do, and they hide behind a persona and they harass people. And this will make him more defensive moving forward, less open to being friendly with the community, and maybe even take the sweetness out of his mouth for Counter-Strike, and he might get bitter about it and not want to pursue. I mean, it has huge repercussions for someone who's essentially still in their formative years of Counter-Strike.
So usually at the end of the video, this is what we call the end board. We do a gag, we show a blooper, I talk about something on my shelf. We give you a little lighthearted insight into sort of like who we are as people. But for this one, I wanted to actually say something a little bit more serious. I mean, I myself and some of my colleagues have been at times in our careers the target of online harassment. It just comes with the territory when you're working in a public way like we do. When you're on camera, when you have a byline on an article, doesn't matter if you do anything wrong, it's gonna happen at some point. And let me tell you, it sucks, man. It sucks when you have to log on to Twitter or Instagram or whatever other social media and you see messages or tweets from people who are saying terrible things about you. Even if you know they're not true, and even if you know these people are just being idiots, it does hurt. It feels bad. And I can imagine how bad it feels if you're 16 years old. So keep that in mind, guys, and conduct yourselves in a courteous, professional manner when you're on social media. Behind every avatar, no matter if it's a pro or an egg with one follower, these are real people with real emotions.